Okay. What is your name?
My name is Jeff Burgio.
And how old are you?
51.
When did you first start playing sports?
I'd say young as 6 years old.
6 years old? And what sport was it?
Baseball.
Baseball. What first got you interested in baseball?
I think my dad. We used to play catch a lot, and then from there we just started playing baseball in the neighborhood and stuff.
Okay. What has been the greatest change in America since you were a child?
Computers and the internet probably been the biggest change, and the way information is spread around the world.
Do you think it's easier to get information about sports with the change in like the computers and the internet?
Yeah, it's instant, and 24 hours a day, and you don't need to go on wait for the TV news anymore. You just go on the computer, and it's real fast now.
Now, who was the most important athlete when you were young?
That would be Willie Horton. Played left field for the Detroit Tigers in the 60s.
And why was he so important to you?
I like that he was the only one of the few black guys on the team at the time, and he was really a spokesman for Detroit. He was raised in Detroit, born in Detroit, and he was a good hitter, good baseball player, and a good guy in the community.
All right. And how are sports different from then and now, would you say?
It's more about individual now, less about the team, more about getting your next contract and making your money. And I mean, it's still a sport, but there's a lot less team, more individual.
So that kind of ties into another question I had is, how has money changed sports over your lifetime? Because you mentioned that.
It's changed it. It's still a game, and they play for a game, but they also play it for a sport, and they play it for the next contract. And money is king, and sometimes they play just for the advertisement and the marketing more than they play for the actual sport themselves.
Very true. And have relationships between teams and fans changed, do you think?
I don't think so. I think there's just as much or more passion today for your team than your sports. If anything, there's more passion today than in the old days. You saw very few women involved in rooting for teams. So now I'd say it's almost equal passion. Women are involved in as much as men. So I'd say if anything, it's more passion today than it was 30, 40 years ago.
Oh, okay. And if you were talking with an athlete, how has preparation for a game changed over the years?
They're much more in shape. I mean, it's a year-round sport now. Whatever sport these professionals play, they're doing it 24 hours, 24 days, 7 days a week, every day a week. There's no time off anymore for these guys. But it used to be when you went to spring training or training camps, you got in shape. Now you're in shape and you're just getting plays and you're getting in better shape. They never get out of shape anymore.
Yeah. How has the role of sports changed over your lifetime, both for you and for society?
I think society has gotten more into it. You see, actually, the word fan, which comes from fanatic, is more true today than it ever was. And people get almost too involved in there's some negative parts of that. Where people, you see soccer games where people are going after refs. Even in baseball, you see people jumping over stands and beating up umpires and stuff like that. So I think people take it a little too serious today as it was. For me, it's not changed much at all. I still enjoy it as much as I enjoyed it back when I was a kid, and I think I got it in the right perspective as I did back then.
Good. And what do you think about the issue of race in sports?
Huge. Whether it's African Americans, Latinos, name the sport, there's always some minority. And sports have always been a way for whatever minority to make it. in this world. So it's always been a huge factor, always will be. There isn't the racism as much as before. You know, if you're a good player, you can play, you're going to make it now. Where back in the 40s and 50s, that wasn't true. Even in the 60s and 70s, it wasn't as true as it is today.
That's very true. And you said that your most important athlete was an African American baseball player.
Yeah.
And does that have to do with because he was one of the first African American baseball players?
For the Tigers in the 60s, there was two. There was him and Gates Brown, and Gates Brown didn't play that much, but Willie Horton did. And they say he was also from Detroit. He was born and raised in Detroit, and I lived in Detroit at the time, and it was just cool to have a local guy.
Okay. What do you think about the issue of drugs in sports?
Well, if you're talking about steroids and human growth hormones and that kind of drugs, better body by science, it seems to be the key to all sports these days. I mean, the Olympics, you're going to find we'll probably get 50 athletes during the Olympics that are going to get suspended just from all sports. Baseball is rampant with steroids, football's got steroids. They all do. It's hard. Again, it goes back to the money. Somebody says take this pill and you can become a professional athlete, make $100 million, but you might lose 5 years out of your life. People are going to take that pill. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, I agree. And then finally, what do you think about the development of women's sports?
Great. I have 3 daughters, and they were all involved in sports, and I think it made them better people, better competitors, and I'm all for it.
Great. And do you have any final thoughts on sports today, or anything that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I'm missing ESPN right now.
Okay, well, I'll let you get back to that. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mara. Take your camera.
Stop.